With so many JRPGs involving deep emotional stories or just squaring up with some gods, sometimes we just want to sit back and relax. So we've put together a list of 13 cozy JRPGs from 2022 to 2024 that you can just chill to. So check it out.
Hey, this is Sean from Gamer Braves. It's been 8 years since we established Gamer Braves channel. We went to a lot of overseas game conference. We did a lot of exclusive interview with a lot of prominent figures from the industry, Ryuzo Sugimoto, Sean Layden, and even Yagu. One of the easiest way to support us is to subscribe to our channel. Support like this will actually gives us motivation and pushes us to produce better content. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of the video.
Of course, it's not a cozy list without any Atelier games. Atelier Ryza played a huge part in bringing the Atelier series under the spotlight of so many people, and it has gotten its final game in a trilogy called Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and the Secret Key. Ryza 3 continues the story from Ryza 2 and 1, but Ryza herself is a bit washed after the events of Ryza 2, and just spends her time lazing around. However, a bunch of strange islands start appearing in their homeland, and that motivates her to continue her life as an alchemist once more. In terms of combat, it takes on a real-time action combat where turns take effect in real time, though it's not a full-blown action game, so you can still take your time. Outside of the combat, you'll be spending a lot of your time gathering materials and performing alchemy. Ryza has a nice mini-game for its synthesis mechanic, where you have to fill a recipe tree of a bunch of resources to make the best version of it, like having the highest quality or desired traits and unlocking more recipes. And you can easily find yourself just laying back and messing with the synthesis system for hours. While it's possible to play Ryza 3 first, you'll better understand the bonds between you and your companions if you played the first two games first, so it's highly recommended to do so you can witness the group's journey. It is currently out on the PS4, PS5, PC, and Switch. Moving on to another Atelier game, called Atelier Sophie 2, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream. The story of Atelier Sophie 2 starts with Sophie preparing to take on an alchemy exam, but she suddenly gets separated from her tutor and instead finds a younger version of them. In general, the story is very heartwarming, exploring what it means to pursue dreams and what dreams means to each person. The synthesis mechanic once again has its own gimmicks that sets it apart from the other Atelier games. This time, synthesis takes place on a 5x5 grid, where you must match a material's shape and element, which are called components. Depending on the components you place on the grid, the effects of a certain item will level up, making it more powerful. Certain components also have a preferred position on the grid, so the synthesis turns into this fun puzzle of maximizing the amount of components you can fit in this limited amount of space. Meanwhile, unlike the real-time turn-based combat we saw with Ryza earlier, Sophie's combat is proper turn-based, which makes things a bit more relaxing. Overall, Atelier Sophie 2 is a nice continuation to Sophie's arc in the Atelier games, and as usual, delivers on the coziness we've all come to expect from the Atelier series. Again, it is recommended to play the first Atelier Sophie game to understand Sophie more, though there is a recap that explains the events of Sophie 1, and it's currently out on the PS4, PC, and Switch, though you can technically play the PS4 version on the PS5. And yes, this is the last Atelier game, because this one's quite different. The very first Atelier game to come out in 1997 has been fully remade, and it's called Atelier Mary, the Alchemist of Salburg. The story is simple and straightforward to follow. Marie is studying alchemy at the Royal Academy of Magic. One day, her professor grants her an atelier as part of the graduation exam, and Marie must produce an item that will impress her professor to pass. But she has to work on her alchemy skills first, because she literally has the worst grades in the academy due to her laid-back and carefree attitude, which I think some of us can relate to. So you'll be spending your time gathering resources and taking part in some casual turn-based combat because these monsters drop useful resources as well. Meanwhile, you can take on some side quests, that of which have pretty generous deadlines, so there's no pressure to prioritize your tasks here and there. Like even the main graduation exam has a deadline of 5 whole years. With all these resources, it's time to work on synthesis, which is where you'll be spending a good chunk of your time trying out all the different types of combinations and resources and recipes and so on. Combined with the adorable presentation and soundtrack, the Atelier Marie Remake is an incredibly chill game that you can just take your time with. It is currently out on the PS4, PS5, PC, and Switch. Granblue Fantasy Relink is likely many people's first introduction to the Granblue Fantasy series, with its beautiful graphics and engaging gameplay. Story-wise, it's relatively short, with around 20 plus characters to get to know. They're from the Granblue Fantasy series, and it doesn't spend an awfully long time trying to introduce everyone to you one by one, especially seeing how long the Granblue Fantasy series has been going on for. Instead, you can take your time and get to know each character at your own pace, especially with the super detailed glossary that you can read anytime you want. While the action combat can seem daunting at times with all the flashy combos and the intense action happening, the game graciously lets you change the difficulty of the game, making it easier, or if you prefer, harder. So it's an option if you prefer to focus on other things besides the combat. Also, there are some characters with simpler movesets to learn, yet they're still as viable as everyone else, so there's no pressure in playing an easy character. Of course, everything is better with friends, so you can recruit up to 3 more friends, making it a party of 4 to cooperate and take on various challenges together. Overall, Granblue Fantasy Relink is a nice story with a chunky amount of gameplay to get into, while still managing to make it accessible for many new players. It's currently out on the PS4, PS5 and PC. As with many Pokemon games over the years, its unchanging formula still stands strong to this day, with Pokemon Legends Arceus. This game is actually the very first game canonically, with huge implications to the lore, so if you've played some of the later games, you'll be getting this very interesting perspective of Pokemon games that are set in the future. In this era, Pokemon are just roaming around in the wild and are basically undocumented, so you and the professor will embark on an adventure to catch, survey, and research these Pokemon to create the very first Pokédex, which is literally just a book. You can also freely roam the massive open world and just watch Pokemon do their thing. You have the choice of trying to catch them without combat with some ancient looking Pokeballs. Though that doesn't apply to everyone, and you'll have to square up against some of them, so there's a bit of simple action gameplay as well. The good thing is, the turn-based combat is very lighthearted and fun to play with, as we've seen time and time again. But otherwise, you can just chill in the field and become a nature observer. Overall, Pokemon Legends Arceus is another nice continuation of Pokemon's cozy and relaxing formula, with a bold twist on its combat and exploration. It is currently out on a Nintendo Switch. Super Mario RPG from 1996 got an incredibly faithful 3D remake, and it is an interesting blend of RPG elements with the Mario franchise, which is usually known for its platforming gameplay. As usual, the plot of these games are pretty straightforward, with Mario saving Princess Peach from Bowser. Unlike a lot of Mario games, Super Mario RPG has turn-based battles instead. That's pretty simple yet engaging. Timing your attacks perfectly allows your characters to receive less damage or deal more damage by attacking all enemies. Every successful action will fill up a gauge, and when full, allows all 3 characters to deal massive damage, that of which will change depending on who's in your party. Additionally, there's a breezy difficulty setting that just lets you enjoy the game stress-free. Along with the light-hearted story and charming presentation, the Super Mario RPG remake will certainly bring a lot of people back into the past for a chill gaming session. It's currently available on the Nintendo Switch. Despite the Yakuza and Like a Dragon games having an emotional story behind it, the moments in between have a ton of daily life activities which are just really fun to spend your time with. Combat-wise, it's switched from a beat-em-up to turn-based combat, so you can take your time and think your moves through, because positioning is especially important, but you won't be pressured for time to make your moves as you'd see in action combat. One of the greatest charms of the Yakuza games is all the goofy daily life stuff that occurs. Watching these grown adults take part in the funniest minigames is such a hilarious juxtaposition to the deep and emotional story. So continuing the tradition, Infinite Wealth has a bunch of little mini-games you can take part in. That's a nice break from the main story, like karaoke, burger delivery, gambling, golf, darts, managing a whole island, fishing, mahjong, and so many more. Overall, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth strikes a perfect balance of serious storytelling and comfy daily life stuff. Infinite Wealth is a sequel to the previous game called Yakuza Like a Dragon, so it is also recommended to play that first, of which you can expect a similar cozy experience as well. It's currently out on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Harvestella is not a series we've seen before, because it's a new original life simulation JRPG by Square Enix. So basically, there's a disaster visiting our world as the seasons are changing, and pose a huge threat to life called the Quietus, the Season of Death. Plants will wither, and people will be unable to walk around due to the dust of death everywhere. And that's where you, the player, have to live a life of self-sufficiency with you and your allies in your house to overcome all these disasters. Your daily life consists of growing crops on your field to sell or use as materials, and of course, feed yourself by cooking your own food. Otherwise, you can also feed them to a bunch of pets you can take care of. Outside of farming, you'll be traveling between villages, talking to residents, crafting, fishing, and so on. The farming is rather simple, so you don't have to worry about reading spreadsheets or wikis of information and just enjoy it as is. The thing is, there are monsters in the world and you have to engage in combat. There are 12 classes to choose from and you'll be using all the various items you crafted beforehand. Overall, Harvestella is a cool new cozy JRPG that implements a lot of immersive and relaxing daily life activities to immerse yourself in the world. It's currently out on the PC and Switch. Let's take a trip down memory lane with a childhood icon of ours, Crayon Shin-chan with Shin-chan, Shiro and Nicole Town. One day, Shinosuke is chasing after Shiro, but accidentally boards a mysterious train that they've never seen before, and that's how they find their way into Coal Town, a place that seems to be frozen in time since the Showa era, and you're here on an adventure to discover what's going on. In general, your daily life activities involve you, as Shin-chan, doing various kid-like activities such as fishing, catching bugs, picking vegetables, and growing them, that of which can be used to discover new menu items in the diner. Aside from that, you'll be able to create various inventions with the help of this young inventor and her strange machine. Besides your chores, you can take part in a local pastime called Trolley Race, where you race your trolleys against other people in town, that of which you can upgrade with the various parts to boost your speed, distract opponents, or take corners much faster. Overall, Shin-chan, Shiro and the Coal Town is a nice throwback to Crayon Shin-chan in the shape of a game, from the nostalgic art and backgrounds that look straight out of the show, to the various daily life activities you can take part in. It's currently released on the PC and Switch. Rune Factory is well known for being one of the most relaxing JRPG series, and Rune Factory 5 is the latest one. For the majority of the game, you'll be spending your time doing a bunch of daily life chores. The main one is planting crops and harvesting them for gold to purchase upgrades for your house, weapons, and tools. Aside from typical farming, you can mine for minerals, fish for fish, and collect produce from your animals. Of course, farms have animals, though you won't be purchasing or breeding them like your regular farming simulator. Instead, you'll have to defeat monsters in dungeons, which will let you tame and befriend them, and once they're tamed, they can help you in battle, produce goods, and help manage your farm here and there. And for the most part, the action combat is pretty straightforward and not that stressful. Tired of doing chores? You can spend time with other villagers to improve your relationship with them by socializing and giving them presents they like, and who knows, even get married? Overall, Rune Factory 5 continues to showcase the best of what Rune Factory is known for, with its cozy and daily life sim mechanics. It's currently out on the PC and Switch. Adding on to the list is another childhood icon, Doraemon, with Doraemon Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom, which is a crossover of the Story of Seasons series and Doraemon. This crossover game combines the farming simulation elements from the Story of Seasons series with the characters and gadgets from Doraemon. You play as Nobita, and you'll basically be a farmer. You'll plow the fields to grow crops, while taking care of animals at the same time. You can go fishing, capture insects, and many more. But besides that, you'll also be keeping track of holidays and festive seasons, where you can plan your time accordingly. Now those are typical Story of Seasons features that we've come to know, but the Doraemon crossover brings some special stuff as well. Nobita can meet up with other Doraemon characters, as well as using various gadgets to assist in his daily life, like changing the weather or fast traveling. That's also not to mention, you can play offline 2-player co-op with a friend, so you can work on the farm together. Overall, this is a unique crossover between a childhood hero of ours and a game that implements the best of daily life activities. It's currently out on the PS4, PC, and Switch. And as we were just talking about Story of Seasons, let's check out the latest original entry in the series, called Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life, without Doraemon this time. This one is a remake of Harvest Moon A Wonderful Life, which came out all the way back in 2003. Of course, the graphics have been revamped to modern standards while still keeping that drawing book style charm to it. As mentioned in the Doraemon version, this game also has a lot of daily life activities to take part in, with the main one being farming, taking care of animals and pets, cooking, fishing, doing requests, attending seasonal festivals, mutating crops, and expanding your farm. And yes, you are able to get married, and it's not a one and done thing. You'll have to proceed with the whole proposal, marriage preparations, like the wedding itself, and even naming your child, that of which will actually grow up as you progress through the game, and so begins another addition to your farming life. Overall, Story of Seasons A Wonderful Life is still able to instill this sense of community between you and the village, as well as providing plenty of daily activities to do. It's currently out on the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Switch. Moving away from farming, this one's about treasure hunting. Dragon Quest Treasures is a slight divergence from the usual Dragon Quest series we know and love. Your party members are not humans, but instead monsters you can recruit to your party. With these guys, you'll search for treasure and bring them back to your base, and you'll be able to get this POV of each monster, which will roughly guide you to where the treasure is located. A lot of the monsters you'll be encountering are pretty unique and have various abilities to help you explore, such as boosting you up higher, or gliding, or straight up flying, and so on. And also, the different POVs are pretty unique. showing different colors, or effects, or obstructions, and many more. You'll eventually have to enter battle as well, and you'll be fighting against monsters with your own monsters. Surprisingly, they have a bunch of abilities that a regular human would, like attacking, healing, buffing, and even coercing the enemy monster to join your side. From here on, it's pretty standard turn-based combat. Overall, Dragon Quest Treasures is a charming and relaxing departure from what we usually see in Dragon Quest. It's currently out on the PC and Switch. And that concludes our list of 13 cozy and relaxing JRPGs from 2022 to 2024. There are certainly many more games out there that many people find comfort with, so let us know which games you turn towards to chill. And don't forget to subscribe for more future videos just like this one.